right, welcome to Nephew and Uncle Basketball Banter. Joined with my uncle and co-host as per usual, David Schroller. Uncle Dave, let's get started on these games that just happened Thursday and Friday here. We'll start off Thursday. I saw history with Alabama and BYU. They set the three-point record in tournament, 25 made three-point shots, so that was pretty special to see. They just were obviously unconscious in that game.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. Obviously, if they play like that against Duke today, then Duke is in trouble.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I think I heard it right. They only made 6 2-point baskets, but I've never seen a tougher choice for as far as a coach's defensive philosophy today. If you're Duke, I mean, like, what's your choice? I mean, I guess you got to find out if they're hitting those threes. The one advantage I do say Duke has is the kid Brown came back, and if you put him on Sears, I think that could work. He changed the Carolina game by going on Davis.
I think the X
Um,
factor was in this game was Holloway. No one saw that coming. I mean, if he plays
right.
like that, then forget it.
Yeah.
Sears, you kind of, you could expect him to get hot, but Holloway, I turned to Connor. I said that might be his career high in this game.
Yeah. I think that the key thing too is what people have been talking about. Oh, yeah, Duke has positional length, which they are the biggest team in the country by far. I think that's today's maybe where the length pays off because I know some of Auburn's more athletic guards have given Sears trouble over the year. So I'm hoping that James could give him a little problem and maybe rotate Proctor and even Brown a little bit on him for a period of time just to show him some length. Because obviously you can't switch to the screens today because he'll destroy Knipple. Even though Knipple's bigger, he's not quick enough for him. But if you put James on him and rotate, James, Brown, Proctor, even Gillis, maybe for here or there, we'll see. But obviously, if a team hits 25 threes, you're probably going home anyway. But I don't think they're hitting 25 threes today, and I think that's the good news for Duke. The key in that game tonight was BYU's making all these twos, but BYU just couldn't get a stop the
Yeah,
whole night.
BYU actually, I thought played pretty decently. They didn't play terribly. I thought
Yeah, they
offensively,
did. They played well and lost
they
by
were pretty
25.
solid. I think it was just one of those nights, a coin flip, where Alabama just everything they put up was going in. The ocean, basketball like the ocean to them. But Saunders had a
Yeah,
good game. He was 10 of 14. He had 25. I mean, offensively, they did pretty well. And a
yeah,
lot of those shots, you shake your hand if you're BYU. There's some shots where they have a hand up there, but they're still making them. So yeah, you chalk it up.
sure. Well,
It's a great shot making ability there.
yeah, if you lose 88, you don't expect to score 88, you don't
Yeah,
expect to get blown out.
right, exactly. Yeah. How many times do you get up 88 and you luse? Not many. And
So I
especially in
think the key
college
thing is
ball.
in transition. The danger for
And that
Duke
was the
today is
thing. Yeah.
Duke should slow it down and punish them inside because this is not a really physical older team, even though the average age on this team is like 22.
Right.
It's not a physical
And
older team. It's not like Tennessee.
Nelson's a little light in the ass too. So
Yeah, so this is not a physical team like Tennessee or Houston. So I feel like if Duke just runs up and down and gets careless and just keeps taking quick threes, unless you're making them, you're going to lose this game
yeah. Yeah,
because this is how
they're
they play every
in
day. And this is
transition.
where,
In transition, they're looking for either a layup or a three.
right. But this is the thing for Duke. Like, you can't settle shot for shot with them. Duke's got to play their game. Like, Duke's better at getting to the basket. Duke's better on the inside. Duke's got to make sure they play their game and not get carried away. Because every kid, as you know, you've been playing basketball your whole life, every player wants to run up and down and just shoot.
Yep.
So when you play this style, the temptation is you sucker the team who's not made to do that with you. The good news for Duke is Knipple's as good a shooter as there is in the country with his feet set, and Evans is just ridiculous. But the thing is, I think Duke's got to be careful here. This is really a tough read for John Shire. Like, you got to really feel this game and make an adjustment.
Yes. Thought he coached a great
But
game against Arizona. Just ran great sets all night. High low action.
sure,
They looked really
sure.
sharp. I mean, really, really sharp. And Arizona, I take your hat off to them. They're an excellent team because Duke played excellent. And they only lost by 7. So Caleb Love had a
Well,
great
Duke,
game. It was a great
yeah.
game to watch. The refs, I mean, the refs were where I thought
Oh, but
the
just brutal.
yeah, the whistle, I thought it was too frequent for sure in this game. It was disappointing. I think if you would have had 10 less fouls in this game, would have even been a much better game.
If you have 10 less fouls in that game, I think it's a 15-point game. But Caleb Love hit some impossible shots, but that's always been him. He'll shoot you in, he'll shoot you out. But Duke is getting any look they want in all these games. Just got to continue to
Well, that
make
was the
them. And
thing. I
then,
thought in this game we'll shift over to Duke and Arizona now, because Alabama, they just played a great game. And like I said, BYU, they played solid, but Alabama just I think that might have been the best second half they might have played all year, honestly, truthfully.
Sure, best half, yeah.
Yeah, and so Duke. I mean, so for those of you that don't know, I was at the BYU Alabama and Duke and Arizona game, and for the at the Prudential Center, and it was a great atmosphere, ton of excitement in that arena, and Duke faithful were out there in droves, and yeah, but Duke looked absolutely excellent. Cooper Flagg just proven what an excellent player he is. I
Unbelievable.
mean, the alley oops he's throwing a mollywalk, and the I don't know if you saw the one he dishes it to Zion James in the corner, and he hits a three. I mean,
Sure.
he just feels the game really well. So he
Yep.
made some big plays, 7 assists and 6 rebounds. He looked absolutely as advertised. And the block shot he had too. That's the thing. He plays both ends of the court.
Yeah, 3 blocks.
Yeah, excellent. So Duke really looked fantastic, I thought. And what's incredible about them is I think they can beat you by death of a thousand paper cuts. You get some
Yep.
Gillis there, Knipple. Everybody just knows their role. It's just great cohesiveness and energy on this team. Defensively, we're dialed in. And I thought, like, there was, like I said, the officiating was what stood out to me. I thought it was absolutely putrid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they kept stopping the clock instead of Arizona
yeah,
to the foul line. You got
yeah. You had
double
40,
bonus
you
with
had
like 8 minutes left.
46 fouls in this game. Totally insane. But Caleb Lovey had a great game, and but I'll rely on you, Uncle Dave, for the other two games that I was not at. That Florida and Maryland game, and Texas
Yep.
Tech, and
I Yeah, I thought the Florida Maryland game was the easiest
Arkansas.
game of the night to pick. When you're Maryland and you only play 5 guys, really, you're not the last team with Florida because Florida plays with crazy pace. But Florida kept them in it early by just turning the ball over, careless turnovers, which is Florida's Achilles heel. They just turning the ball over too much. But in
Yeah,
the
by
second
halftime it
half,
was only a two
Clayton,
point game. I thought, okay, maybe
right
you have something there.
now in the second half, Florida just finally woke up and Clayton just took over and Florida started to pound the glass. And you're playing 5 guys versus that pace of Florida or Duke or an Alabama. You're
Tough.
not winning with
Yeah,
5. You got to
yeah.
have 8.
With 10
And
minutes left,
that I
it's
thought was the easiest of the Sweet 16 games to pick. I would have bet the house on that. Florida's just better. It's just a bad match. Sometimes you get a bad matchup. Doesn't mean that they're the worst team of the bunch, Maryland, out of the 16 that were left, but that's a bad matchup. You got a team with that much depth in Florida's got 3 great guards, 4 good bigs. I mean, there's no way you're handling that. And you know, they did. That game in the second half was never close. And Florida just pulled away. Clayton did his thing. The big guy, Condon did his thing. Martin does his. I mean, they're all good players. Florida's a real threat. They're playing legit. Matter of fact, in the knockout pool I'm in, I still have them versus Duke in the final, and I'll hope for the best with Duke,
that's
but they're
strong
tough.
chance of that coming.
And the other game,
Yeah, Arkansas,
Arkansas
Uncle
has
Dave,
that.
I watched the time ticker there. Arkansas has control of this game for most of the game, and they just fall apart, I'm guessing, in the final, 7, 8 minutes of this game.
They have control up by about 13 with 4 minutes left.
Oh, geez.
But then they took a couple of quick shots. Texas Tech, who I had in the game, I thought I was done. Texas Tech, Williams finally woke up. Toppin finally woke up. And but Texas Tech made a couple of jump shots, finally hit a couple of threes, and Arkansas with a couple of quick pulls. And all I gotta say to Arkansas fans is welcome to John Calipari. Uh, yeah, you don't have to call a timeout there because probably with 7.3 on the clock, the length of the court, there probably isn't a play you can run. Like you're not running a set. You have to
Not
run a
enough
quick
time.
hitter.
Not enough
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
you have a quick hitter you can run, or you can talk about the spacing. But typical Cal just leaves it up to somebody else, and you wind up getting 4 guys on one side of the floor, no organization, and a guy coming down and pulling up for a fadeaway jump shot. You got to get to the basket there, and that's maybe what you can tell them in a timeout. If I got my best player with a full head of steam in the ball, I've lived with that before, and I've not lived with it. I've won both ways and lost both ways. But in this situation, you got to re-talk about 7.3 on the clock. You got a timeout, but that's typical Calipari. People make the excuse, well, that's just the way he rolls. Well, that's not enough. You cost yourself a final against when you're at Memphis because that's the way you rolled. You just after a while, that's not an excuse anymore. I'm just tired of hearing that's the excuse. That's the way we do it. In that situation, there, you got to get a timeout. And you got to review like a quick hitter or this proper spacing.
In his defense, I will say the fouling with the 10 seconds left, folks, that's way too much time to foul and
Yep.
take the ball out underneath your own basket if they make both free throws and you're only up one. So I don't blame him for them tying the game late like that.
Sure.
10 seconds left. I
Sure.
think if you're going to foul, if you are a fan of that, You only do that with
Yep.
less than 5 seconds left. There's no way with that much time
Right.
doing that. So in his
And the
defense,
other
I
thing
don't blame
is,
him on that one.
the only thing I don't understand today is these teams are isolating all their best players, and these other teams are not sending help. So Williams winning the winning basket for Williams. You know that's where they're going. As soon as you see him start to do his back around dribble where he starts spinning, you got to send a second guy. How you let him beat you there? This is the part that like I know players today a lot of times don't anticipate or don't think about the game like they should. But there's no way you're letting that kid take that shot there. I'll be damned. I want to see him skip the ball across court into the corner and hit a shot. Go ahead, hit that shot. It's like a week ago when Queen comes down the lane and Colorado State just stands there and watches. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not letting him do it. I'm not letting Michael Jordan do it.
Right.
Make Mike kick it to Steve Kerr,
Yep.
and
And
we'll
you
find
live
out
with
Steve
that.
Kerr can do it.
Right. You
I'm
live.
not letting him do it.
Yeah.
Jerry Sloan did it with Michael Jordan versus Byron Russell. I'm not doing it. I'm
Yes.
not letting that. I'm not comparing these guys to Michael Jordan, but I'm not taking their best, and I'm not watching it go to pieces like that. I'm just not doing it. Unless the kid's not a great player and he wants to go one on one, but I'm not doing that. I'm just not letting it happen, and that's what's going on in these games. Sometimes it's very frustrating, but so the last couple of days, I, the rage has all been about all these games. But Arkansas game was a great game, but Tech should have really won the game at the end. They did prove that they were tougher. They did take care of the board, but in the first half, Williams did not get off, and they really did a great job on Toppin. They took away his right shoulder and made Toppin go over his left shoulder. But eventually, they got a couple of cheap. Toppin got it going with a couple of cheap baskets, but Williams really woke up.
I have to say, Uncle Dave, too, and we'll touch back on the Duke and Arizona game here. That Con Knipple and Cooper Flagg's threes right before the half to give Duke a 6 point lead was huge. That game's tied right
Yeah,
before half, you're thinking, but Knipple hits one and then Flagg hits one right before the half. The building just was absolutely vibrating at that point.
yeah. It looked it on TV. I was thinking of you guys. The building must have been jacking us. I know
No,
that's a
yeah,
great Duke turnout. Duke's gonna have a great turnout again tonight. I'm
yeah.
sure Duke will be dominating that building tonight. It'll be Duke blue tonight. It won't be Alabama red.
Duke just it seemed like every time that Arizona could have taken the momentum, Duke just had an answer every time. So it was really,
Yeah,
that's what championship teams do, though. They make those kind of
yeah,
stop. You're good at being the hammer and the nail. So this Duke team, I think, is proving that they are good at both. So I think
yeah. It's
tonight,
scary though.
optimistic.
This is the third time since 1979 when they started seeding the teams. That's a long time ago. That's before you were born. This is the third time that we could have all number one seeds get to the
I
final
think I
four. It'll be
remember
the third.
2008 or 2009. I remember
Yep,
what the other
yep,
time. But
exactly. 2008's the other one. But the funny thing is, one of the other ones. The funny thing is, what we brought up 4 or 5 weeks ago has been the rage of all the basketball talk online because I listen to all the college basketball shows.
yeah,
I listened to Field of 68. I listened to the college podcast, the college athletic station on Sirius Radio this morning. And they're all talking about what we were way ahead of the curve. And I'm going to tell them like it is because we were way ahead of the curve. We told you this would happen. We told you there'd be chalk. We told you that because we said, look at already in the portal. Just look for next year. The kid Dent already left. He's gone. Dent says he's in the portal. There's no way Dent goes back to New Mexico.
yeah.
There's no way Colorado's best player, who's
And
already into the portal,
Lewis now too,
goes.
I saw.
Yep. There's no way that they go back. Yeah, Lewis leaving St. John's is
Yeah,
insane.
player of
But
the year and Big
there's
East.
no way the mid-major kid goes back. The
No
VCU
way.
kids are already leaving.
Yeah,
VCU kids, a couple of them have visited Virginia yesterday. So, I mean, you look at all the good mid-majors, there's no way that they're going back. I'm sorry, they're not.
yeah, definitely not.
So
They think now, all right, if I have a good year at an Auburn or a Kentucky, then I'm going to the NBA then. So they're not going to stay at a mid-major.
yeah, and people will say, "Oh, maybe this year's an outlier." No, it isn't. Just take a look at these lineups tonight. So last night, you're watching Auburn. They got two kids who transfer from much lower schools. I mean, just listen to these games. Look at Duke, Sion James, Toledo, not Toledo, freaking New Orleans. When was the last time they did anything down there in at the school he was at in New Orleans? I mean, when's the last time Tulane did anything? He leaves Tulane. I mean, there's no way. Tulane doesn't even sniff the tournament. Sion James, a perfect fit, and kudos to the GM for realizing that. She did an amazing job. But the thing is, you can see it already. Let's look at these lineups of these games tonight. All these guys have transferred from somewhere else. This is not an outlier. This is going to be the future until this transfer rule stops. And again, people bitch and go, well, you can't stop the kids from doing that. No one's talking about paying the kids. We're not talking about stopping that. we'll talk about stopping the transfer crap. If you want to get paid, then you have an obligation or a contract to stay there.
Yeah, no
You
one.
want to get
I
paid?
think people envisioned NIL. They didn't envision the portal thing, though.
Oh, the portal's
Basically,
nuts. The
yeah,
portal's what's ruining it.
yeah,
You
it's
want
not
to pay
the
the
NIL.
kids? Fine. It's the other crap that is ruining it. The portal stuff. I mean, people transferring within their own league. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
totally
you can't.
insane.
You have to have some parameters and guidelines and rules for
You
this
got to
stuff.
have some rules. I mean, we got to have some rules.
Yeah, it's insane. The Wild West had more rules than
Oh,
this.
it's terrible.
We'll move on to the slate of games that we had yesterday. We'll go to Michigan and Auburn here. And this game right here, Denver Jones, if you would have told me he would have had 20 points, Pettiford at 20, and Broom at 22, I would have said it's a guaranteed win. And that's what Auburn did
Petter,
today.
Pettiford's made the move of the tournament with the hezzy right there.
Yes,
Pettiford's
incredible.
hesitation dribble on Wolf. And you know what's funny? I love Wolf, but Wolf in the meat of that game back down, he passed the ball. He deferred.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times he got the ball with a mismatch. He had Broom on him. He should have taken him off the bounce. And he
Yeah, he
didn't do
should
it.
have
He looked
shot
to
the ball
reverse it.
more. He had a great game, Danny
Yep.
Wolf, 9 of 18 with
Yep.
20
He
points.
a
Should
couple
have
of
had more.
times he didn't want it. And he reversed it. Whether he feels the pecking order on the team or not, I have no idea. But a couple of times he didn't do it. And they didn't throw the ball in the post. They got suckered into playing up tempo. And we talked about Michigan's guards who did a good job, but they got suckered into that tempo and they lost.
Yeah, this is the what was crazy about this game here is Auburn in the second half, they go on a 20-2 run and Michigan goes 5 minutes without a field goal. You do that in the tournament, it's done, or any level of play, you're done. So that's exactly what
Well,
happened.
the kid Pettiford, they go down 9. I think it was 58-49. Pettiford comes down and bangs a three. And then freaking Broom comes down and gets an M1. Boom. Now all of a sudden,
Yeah, it's a
you're
different
down 3.
game now. Yep. Yeah.
Right there. The momentum's done.
Pettiford had the type of game that Holloway for Alabama had. If he's like the outlier for Auburn, if he plays like how he played against Michigan, they're damn tough. They're already tough, but
Well, it's
he
like the
plays like
kid,
that.
it's like the kid at Houston last night, the freshman. He gets 20, 22, 24 points.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
if he's gonna bail out
game
Crier like
changer.
that, we got problems.
Yeah, you have a guy come off the bench and gives you 20. That's and you're
Yeah,
already
he's the only recruit they had last year. He's the only kid that's new to the team this year.
no, it's incredible. But Baker Mazzara, he had kind of a light game, so where you needed someone like Pettiford to step up, and he did.
Sure.
This was kind of a
Yeah,
sloppy game here. It's 30 turnovers total in this game, so
yeah, it was sloppy.
everybody was turning the ball over.
Very sloppy game.
But I think also Golden didn't have his best game, so this was not the
They
not
didn't throw the
night
ball in
that.
there enough either, though. I mean, he had
Yeah,
such a mismatch on Broom, and they
yeah.
wouldn't
I
throw it
thought
in
they
there.
should. If he had 9 shots, he should have had closer to what Wolf had, 18, I think, and just try to
Yeah,
get
plus
going.
he's a lot bigger, and you owe it to yourself to make them double so Broom doesn't get in foul trouble.
Right.
As it was, they hardly went in there, and Broom
And,
had 4 fouls.
and Broom
So
already he
imagine,
finished with 5. Exactly. Yeah, you should
yeah,
have
so
had it
imagine if
fouled
you
out of
actually
it.
went in there. You
Yeah.
might have been in the bonus. People
Right.
don't take advantage of this.
Yep.
If people are going to single cover you, you have to find out. And again, I say this to my players for 35 years of coaching. Anybody can post up anybody else. Doesn't matter if you're bigger because everybody has a game close to the basket that they work on where they flipping shots up and bullshitting around when they're by
Yes.
themselves near the hoop. Everybody's got a post move. I don't care if you're a 2'4" guard or a 7'4" big guy. You got a guy in your back. It's an advantage.
So that was Auburn basically in the second half just turns on the Jets. And again, they like Alabama. I think you could argue that was maybe the best second half they had all season
Yeah.
in winning time right there.
The
So
last 10 minutes, Auburn played great.
yes. And I didn't get to see any of this Purdue. Well, I saw some of the first half, Uncle Dave, this Purdue and Houston game. Again, Houston kind of is on Purdue a little bit in the second
Yep.
half. They kind of, you thought that they maybe had separated here, but Purdue catches up. And I thought the game might have been over there with like about 10 minutes left, but this turned into a game where Houston wins off an inbound play.
Well, LJ Cryer just couldn't score yesterday. And the one thing about Houston is, they didn't have anybody hitting shots except for the rookie. They're getting the offensive board, but Purdue did a decent job on the board. Purdue, kept the game right where they wanted. I believe it's 32-31, maybe at the half, 33-31, and Purdue's got that score right where they want. And it's an ugly game, and Houston's just not making shots, and that was the difference. And the big fella for Purdue played very nice, played
Yeah,
a
it
good
was the
game.
opposite of what happened with Gonzaga, right?
Yep. He probably didn't get the ball enough, the big kid. Smith had a nice game, but in the second half, Smith turned into a total facilitator, and he didn't really shoot the ball because I think he
Well,
had
that's
8
the
assists in
thing.
the second half.
Braden Smith has 15 assists in this game, only 2 of 7 from the floor. He's a good shooter. You would have liked to see him take a few more shots.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He was such a good facilitator. Maybe he pulled up a little bit, but the thing is, like, Yeah, you wonder if he could have used a couple more baskets. Then
Oh, you
again, he
definitely could
had
have.
played a tremendous floor game, but you're right, he needs to take more than 7 shots. But at the same time, if Houston finally starts hitting, like I said, the freshman starts to hit a couple of buckets, and all of a sudden that out of bounds play, Smith cheated so much on the screen at the elbow for the curl on the far elbow. He cheated so much over that the inbounder was wide open. He just stepped in.
Yeah, I think not enough teams look for that. You forget about the inbounder that as soon as the ball's inbounded, they're a live dog. So if they cut right to the basket, especially when you're close to the rim like that, I mean, that was an excellent play that Houston, good
Well,
recognition on Houston's part too.
and I think that everybody feels like the inbound is always a threat, but you don't think about the inbound when it's 2.2 seconds
Right,
left.
exactly. You think there's not enough
Eh,
time left to get the ball back to him, but obviously there is.
So Braden Smith cheated so much that he just stepped in. He was wide open.
You
It
have to
was
think that
beautiful.
Houston might have been also looking for that too. Maybe it's something on film that they saw that they were
Well,
looking
maybe
for that.
maybe earlier in the game, Smith cheated again on that same play. We don't know. But the thing is, the kid made a great read, and you know how it is. These guys have been playing, for 3, 4 hours a day since June. They've been working out every day
Yeah,
since June. You start
yeah,
to, you get
long
those
time.
little reads and you get
Yeah, it's
those
about
little
8 or 9
things. And
months now. Yep.
yeah, that's the beautiful part of this. You get those reads and boom, you're done.
But yeah, Houston, they were able to again. Probably people did not foresee Purdue having a chance to win this game here in the final minute, but because Houston's been so again, we kind of talked about it too on our last show. We thought that Houston would wear on Purdue and they would kind of
Yeah.
pull away by
And they never
you
did.
know have a 15-point win here, but like you said, it never came to fruition.
No, they got up 10 with
So,
about 10 minutes left and it looked like the story was over. But then again, Purdue came back. Got to give Purdue a lot of credit. Matt
yep,
Painter, an
Houston kind
excellent
of
year of
proved that
coaching.
they're mortal a little bit here in this game because I
Yeah, they
definitely
did.
would not have thought it was been a 2-point game. I thought Houston again would have kind of won this one easily. But
Well,
again,
think
Matt
about what
Painter
Matt
and
Painter
Purdue,
did this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
He loses Edie, he loses Gillis. Another good big kid for him is out. He's been
It
out the
might be
whole
his best
year.
year of coaching, honestly, all things
Yep,
considered there.
yep. He did a great job. He really did a fantastic job. I mean, I've never been but I always respected him. But Matt Painter did a fantastic job.
We'll move on to this Ole Miss and Michigan State game, Uncle Dave, which again I didn't get to see much of this game, but this obviously looked like a dogfight all the way through here, close the
Well,
whole
this was like looking in the mirror. Mississippi played the best defense in a first half I'd seen in a long time.
Ole Miss, Ole
Uh,
Miss.
but but Ole Miss, but they didn't get a chance to score themselves as much as they probably should have been up. Probably should have been up more at half than they were. But they weren't. And so Ole Miss, basically it was like looking in the mirror. And Mississippi was just, they'd had their chances to shoot well too. Padula was good. I don't think he got enough shots to be honest with you. The big kid from Mississippi was a nice player. Michigan State, though, we've talked about them since the beginning of the show in January. The kid Moore is so athletic. They run up and down the floor. I know everybody's trying to tell me that, Izzo doesn't have great players. I told you all year long I thought this was one of the best 5 teams in the country. So again, whoever picked them fifth or sixth in the Big Ten was smoking crack. If you watch these guys play transition basketball,
He's too
you
good of
know
a
that this
coach,
team
Coach is
runs.
though, to have his team
Yep. But
finish
this
like
team,
that. Yeah.
this team, I thought was one of his best offensive teams. A lot of people saying it isn't. I think it is because they do play free and easy in transition.
I
Whereas
love
in the
that you have
past,
a
I mean,
guy like Carr who just can run the floor and it's just he had a
sure,
great game again yesterday, 15 points and
but
six.
the kid Richardson really saves him.
Yeah,
Richardson
six of
hits a
eight,
couple of
6 of 8. He had
threes.
a great game, Chase Richardson, right?
Him and Atkins and Holman, and you can't press them because they got 3 guards out there. Holman does a great job. Atkins does a great job, but Richardson hits a couple of threes. And I thought Chris Beard's team did a great job of being man or two on the first couple of zoning the first couple of passes and going man in the second half there late. But Michigan State were very well prepared for that situation. First couple of passes it was zone, then all of a sudden it went man. And I'll tell you what, the fact that Michigan State found those holes and just got downhill. And Mississippi does not play a lot of guys, Ole Miss, and I think that hurt them a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, we see that these teams that I think, especially when you're this late in the year in these games, they're so high octane and intense. The intensity is off the charts, I think, especially if you have a fast-paced game. If you're only 6 or 7 deep, that could be a problem for you if you play a team that's
Yeah, I
up.
mean
Oh,
the media timeouts are longer and stuff, but today is when you're really going to see the lack of depth. If you had lack of depth before and you playing today on basically a 36-hour
yes,
window, you're
correct.
you're in big trouble.
No, it's
Today is where it's going to show, maybe 48-hour window, I should say. Today it'll show. That then again, Maryland's out, so it's not going to show on them. Ole Miss is out, it's not going to show on them. But the thing is, like Texas Tech today versus Florida, it might show a little bit.
But Michigan State, so Uncle Dave, in the last few possessions, was it a situation where Michigan State took the lead late, or was Ole Miss?
Now, Michigan took the lead with about a minute 40 left, I want to say, and a couple of buckets. Atkins had a couple of buckets.
Uh,
Richardson got to the rack. Then they hit their free throws down the stretch. Michigan State was great down the stretch because Ole Miss executed a couple of great times and hit a three to cut it to two. Got another basket to cut it to two, and both times Michigan State went to the line and drained their free throws. I think they were 13 for 14 on the day. They shot their free throws really
Ole
well.
Miss was 9 of 10, so free throw shooting was
Yeah,
excellent in the game.
yeah. So they did a great job, and that was a great game. Again, though, Miss Ole Miss had that thing. I never seen a team so on their heels defensively, but then Michigan State found a way to get downhill, and I think that they were too much passively passing and standing, and finally they got downhill.
Then we'll move on, Uncle Dave, to the Tennessee and Kentucky game here.
Worst game of the day.
Yes. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
I think this game comes down to Tennessee takes care of the ball a little bit better. They get to the foul line a little more. And, Kentucky, I Brea has just not a good game. So I think that right there, that's the dagger for them.
well, I think too that Kentucky's been a little bit of a fraud for about a month and a half now.
They have. I thought they've been playing beyond their means, I think, these last few games. They kind of
I
came
mean,
back
they were
down to earth.
banged up. They're very injured. You see how limited Carr is. Carr's a nice offensive player, and he's great in November and December when you don't know a lot about the matchups. But then eventually you see Carr out there on the floor, and you realize that you could attack him. He's not a great rebounder, even though he's a big guy. He's not. He's like a sieve on defense, and you also realize that, like I said, they're just banged up. I think them getting a 3 seed was way too high. I thought they've been mediocre for a month and a half, maybe 2 months, maybe since the middle of January. I felt like they've been mediocre. Them early in the year in Kansas, everybody was talking about they would have toasted the town. And both those teams, I mean, all right, Kentucky won 2 games. I give them credit. Kansas didn't even win any. But I knew Kentucky was not a threat. I used them in the early round because I felt they'd win their first game. My knockout pool, I did use them. But I knew Tennessee would win that game, but I couldn't pick that game at all because I used Tennessee in an early round in a knockout. So Tennessee, I had a feeling was going to beat them up, and they did. That wasn't even a close game at all. It wasn't even as close as the 15. Never
You
in
look at
doubt.
the bench points too. Kentucky only has 6 bench points, and Tennessee finishes with 23. So they were just the overall better team. It showed.
Yeah, it wasn't a close game, and Ziegler took him off the dribble anytime he wanted. Local guy, Long Island guy.
Him and Lanier both played good. Yep, like they.
Yes, and and the other kid comes off the bench and does a nice job. Gainey, not off the bench, he starts. Gainey does a nice job, and Milicic did a good job as well. So Tennessee looks real. Them and Houston could be one of the most fascinating games. It's kind of like looking in the mirror, but at the same time, like I feel like Tennessee might have a little better shooting, but I feel like Houston might be a little better at being Tennessee than Tennessee is.
Yeah, I think that would be an excellent matchup right there. That Tennessee and Houston game. I think that
We're
would
gonna
be.
find out tomorrow.
Yep. So we'll move on, Uncle Dave, to the matchups that we have today. We're gonna get tipped off here very shortly, in the next hour here. Texas Tech and Florida. What are you looking for in this game? Do you have any
Uh, the only way I see Texas Tech winning this game is if
concerns?
Florida beats themselves.
Yeah.
If Florida beats themselves, I think we have a story here, but I don't think any other way does this work. I just don't think we have that. Florida's going to have to beat themselves with those careless turnovers. We have seen them have careless turnovers, but I don't think I mean, I think this is where you see a little bit of depth on Tech. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm rooting for Tech because I want it to be easier for Duke, but at the same time, I don't see Florida losing this game. Like I said, unless they get tight, Final Four, Golden looks a little tight sometimes. So we'll see, but I don't think Tech has the pace to play with them. I don't think they have the guards to play with them. Although I will say they do have two good inside forces in Williams and Toppin. And if Williams plays really well, Florida does, even the guy Martin, who's very strong, does not have an answer to guard Williams. Williams is one of those tweeners. He's one of those guys that he can post you up and he can also pop you out. So if Florida puts one of their four big guys on, a guy like Condon's going to get eaten up. But if he puts Martin on him, Martin's going to give it up a couple of inches. He's not giving up any strength. But if Tennessee Tech can get Toppin and Williams to control and post up and control tempo that way, I think they can hang around. But if this goes up and down, Florida's going to get him.
I think Florida's depth, I think, is such an advantage for them this tournament. I think their front court, they just have just multiple athletic guys with good hands that can just protect the rim. So I think Florida, I like Florida in this game as well. But Texas Tech, obviously, they they proved that they could come back too. That Arkansas game, what a game that was.
Sure.
Certainly. So
Sure.
we'll be looking forward to seeing what happens in this one, no doubt. And then we'll go Uncle Dave to Alabama and Duke. And
Well, like I said, this is a fascinating thing. I don't think anybody has a
really
bigger
looking forward to this game here.
I,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has a bigger choice in this round of how to play a style than what is Duke's choice here. I mean, they're gonna run up and down. So like, but this is a trap for Duke,
You
and
have to
Duke's
pick and
staff
choose. You have to pick and choose, I think, when you're Duke, when
yeah,
you're
Duke's staff has to really adjust in this
this is a
game. Some
game like
games,
you just alluded to it earlier. Coach Shire, he's really got to show his worth in this game.
yeah, some games you could just go out and you could take somebody out playing one way, but I doubt they'll hit 25 threes. So I think you got to try and play up tempo at
Well, that's
first.
the
But
thing. As a Duke fan, you're like, all right, are you happy Alabama hit 25 threes? You're like, all right, they don't
yeah, I
shoot
am.
away again, or you're like, all right, maybe they're locked in and they don't hit 25, they hit fucking 19, and you're still gonna be maybe fucked.
Well, the thing I'm concerned about is the youth on Duke taking quick shots that trying to keep up
That's
with the
the killer.
Joneses, so
You
to
talked
speak.
about it too. It's another great point. The killer is when the momentum all of a sudden the other team has it. The worst thing is you have a couple possessions where you take a bad shot or a quick shot and they get the ball and they go on an 8-0, 9-0 run, and then all of a sudden you're really fucked.
Yeah, and we all feel about the heat check. God forbid, go ahead and take it. But my whole thing is Duke really has a big choice today. You're going to post up. I mean, if they have nobody to guard Flag. Are you going to post up or not?
The
And
high low, you have to run
Nelson.
with flag to mollywalk. You got to look for that.
Yeah, and the thing is,
Oh, against Arizona.
Alabama's defense is not good, and this is where Duke has to take advantage. The defense is horrendous.
Yeah, Kip Knipple and James, those kind of guys. You have to be patient, make sure you take good shots. I think Duke, they've shown they've had great poise this whole tournament. Even they
And
were definitely challenged the other night too against Arizona. You can't make light of that. They definitely Arizona
no,
Wildcats definitely had a chance to win that game, but Duke
and
really showed poise.
the thing I think though is that we all forget too though. Anybody could have a bad shooting day. If you have a bad shooting day in one of these games, that could cost you too.
We've talked about the NBA. It's a make or miss league. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter what level you're at. That still applies. College basketball, high school basketball doesn't matter. You're taking your shots. Are they going in or are they not going in?
Yeah, if you have games where you guys are getting good shots and stuff, it's and they're making them makes everything look prettier.
No doubt. But we're gonna see what happens in these. Who's gonna get these final four bids here tonight? Texas Tech, Florida, or Alabama or Duke? And I gotta tell you, Texas Tech and Florida. I mean, they're not gonna be shocked with any of these matchups here. If
I
Florida,
think Florida's probably the matchup that most people will be on tonight.
right, I would agree with that. They're the 7.5 point favorite. Duke's 7.5 point favorite too. That's a little, I think
That's
Florida.
shocking.
I agree with you. I thought Florida would have gotten a bigger spread than Duke in this one. I certainly would think that. I think the Duke Alabama spread I would have closer to like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think three of the four games are fascinating. I think Michigan State Auburn is the two teams I believe the least in, but one of them's going to the Final Four. So what are you gonna say? I mean, if they're both somebody's going. So I cannot believe all I want, but I had State last night. I did pick them in that game for my knockout, but at the same time, like I just don't love them that much. I mean, I feel like their shooting is still not as much there as it needs to be. But at the same time, they grind out those games. And Izzo hasn't had a shooter since Drew Neitzel.
Drew Neitzel, that's a name right
Yeah,
there. If you're a
yeah,
real college basketball aficionado, you know who Drew Neitzel is. And then we'll look at
yep,
Sunday's games, Uncle Dave. Tennessee and Houston. Like you said, you said it before. This is definitely like I'm holding up a mirror to each other in this one.
yeah. Houston scared me last night again. It looked like some old problems without a post game. I know their guys are all Marcus Camby post players where they get garbage and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
sometimes you
Jawan
need a guy to
Roberts, he really didn't have a great game at all against
right.
Purdue.
Yeah, sometimes you need a guy you can throw the ball to get you a basket, and that's where it scares me because Tennessee has some guys like that. But again, though, this is a wing guard game. There's the big guys in this game are rebounders and rim flyers and lob catchers. They're not really post players in the traditional sense of throwing the ball in there and making a move. But again, I think Houston might be a little bit better at being Tennessee than Tennessee is. It's just that Ziegler and Cryer is such a great matchup. Really depends a lot on the whistle too. You hate to see one of these two guys on either team get in foul trouble early. And again, the whistle in these big games is huge.
I
If you
think
if you have the philosophy
Houston
of you
has a
can't call everything,
little more depth up front. I think
yeah.
Robert's not going to have lightning strike twice. I expect him to have a much better game than had against Purdue. So I like
I'd like to
Houston.
see I'd like to see a rule change too. I'd like to see a overtime of guys get six foul because I mean think about that game of the night, the Arkansas Texas Tech game. I know you're at the Duke game, so you're not seeing it, but that game goes to overtime. You have like five or six guys with four fouls in that game. You
Yeah,
want to tell me you want to finish that game with backups if it goes to three overtimes?
no way. Yeah,
You just don't want to do that.
no, you certainly don't.
You
It's
don't want to do that.
the foul situation.
And it kind of looked like it was going to happen there for a minute.
Yeah, the foul situation is tough, especially if you have a guy with two fouls in the first half. You pretty much have to guarantee that he sits the rest of that
Yeah,
half. It's tough.
yeah.
And a guy's out of rhythm, and it really could fuck everything up. Your game plan, no doubt. You have to
And
really
then
think
one of the big
why
things
you want
tonight is one of the things that scares you too tonight because the youngest team out there is clearly Duke. If they start three freshmen, the bad news is like, will the freshmen be overhyped tonight and pick up a couple of cheap fouls? Will
It's
Cooper
always your
Flag
fear.
get two shitty fouls?
Yeah, it's always your fear.
So that game is a fascinating game. Like I said, Michigan State Auburn is Chiefs might be the ugliest, most fascinating one of them all because they still think that Auburn's overachieved. I really do. I know they've been number one. They were number one for a while, but I still think they're not that great on
I
talent
like
wise. I know they
Michigan
got
State in this game too. I think again, when a team has such a great game like Auburn did against Michigan in that second half, there you're like, there's no. I mean, 22 points for Broom again. It could happen, but I just don't see it. Pettiford with 22 as well, and Denver Jones. My God, Denver Jones looked
he
incredible.
did. He looked great. He looked great. But this game is going to be an ugly game. But Auburn looked like they'll stare death in the face a little bit last night. They got fortunate because Michigan's guards just don't have it.
Yeah,
But I don't think that's the case for Michigan State's guards. Michigan State's guards do have it. So Richardson's going to be key. Holman's going to be key. Atkins is going to be key. But again, you know, you know, Flora, the two big white kids from Michigan State are pretty good players. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Auburn,
it makes
Broom
sense
was
too. When you
excellent
look
last night.
here, we are with the last eight teams here, and you got some of the best coaches. You got Tom Izzo here against Bruce Pearl. You have Kelvin Sampson. You have just all the it's the names at the end that you thought would be at the end here. It's no surprises in that regard.
And then you have some young guys too. I mean, Shire's in there, and
Yeah, yeah, the
he's
next
looking to get.
wait.
Nate Oates is still pretty young. He's a little older than, Shire, but they're both looking to get in there. So I mean, Shire hasn't been there yet, so this is a big game for him. This is where they lost last year at NC State and DJ Burns on Easter Sunday. They got him. So the thing is, it's gonna be nervous watching this game tonight because the pace is nuts. So be a lot of fun. I'll be really relaxed watching the first game, enjoying myself, and then the second game I'll be a mental patient.
Well, I guess I got news for you, Uncle David. Who's a mental patient right now is John Calipari after that loss.
Oh my God, I know, but this is Cal. That's why I said to the Arkansas
You
fans,
squander
welcome to
you
Cal.
squander a double-digit lead in the second half of the tournament when you're in striking distance of wrapping it up. That's tough.
I always say to the guys, welcome to Cal, welcome to John Calipari. This is who he is.
Yeah, you don't. Especially, I mean, now I will say, considering where he was at the beginning of the year, I'm going to not say his team didn't overachieve. I think they certainly did, but that still doesn't make this loss sting any less.
No, like we talked about, there are some losses that ruin a great season, and you could still say you had a great season, but when you're up 13 with 4 minutes left, that ruins your great season quote.
It
It's
does.
like Clemson. Clemson did historic things this year, but then to go out and look like you've never played basketball a day in your
No, the
life
last thing you
ruined their
remember of
season.
yourself, right? Yeah. If
That team will not be remembered fondly by the fans
no, it won't
because
be.
of the way it ended.
If Texas Tech went out there and they just outplayed Arkansas and won by 12 or 13, we would not be saying this. But
Nope.
when you have the lead like that late in the game and you piss it away, yeah, it's definitely going to haunt you for
Yeah,
sure.
there are painful losses and there are more painful losses.
Especially because we're not talking about a game that's being played here, in December or January. This is for all the marbles here. This is for a potential Final Four bid here on the line. You have to
Yeah.
advance the Elite Eight. So
Yep.
that's a haunting proposition for sure right there. But
Yeah, that's this is it, as they say, and that's the hard part about
there's
all
no
this. But
tomorrow.
these games are going to be awesome. Looking forward to these
Yep,
next
who's going to play inspired
next
ball?
48 hours.
No doubt. And then we'll see who's going to the Final Four tonight by the end of the end of the weekend, folks. It's going to be
Sure.
exciting stuff. And then obviously once that happens, maybe Sunday night we'll have our next show and preview
Sure.
the Final Four and wrap up the review and overview of these games here, and we'll discuss and break them down. So
Yeah, sure. We go during the week because now we don't play till Saturday again.
right, yeah.
So we can do that. We go during the week. We can go
Yeah,
tomorrow night,
Sunday
whatever we
wraps
gotta
up
do.
that Auburn and Michigan State game. That'll be done by 8 o'clock. So there's no
Yep.
reason why we can't. It won't be a late game.
Yep.
Some of these,
Yep.
like before you get to this point, the games, some of these on the West Coast, they're ending at 12:30. Some of
Oh
these,
yeah, they were late. I was up till 1 o'clock the other night.
yeah, we talked. We sat next to a couple Arizona fans. I said, "You guys almost pissed away that game against Oregon there in the final minutes."
Yeah, how were the Arizona fans? How were they feeling?
They kind of were, optimistic, I would say, to a degree, but they kind of knew that going in, this could be it. There's no doubt when you're going against Duke.
Now, what do they got coming back? Do they feel like they have anything coming back? Or they? I know Love graduates, but what else do they have coming back?
Well, with the whole portal and everything now, every kind of team is on pins and needles here.
Well, in theory, what do they have coming back?
I have to look, honestly. I'm not sure who they expect to
So
have.
they weren't like optimistic for next year or anything.
Well, the one guy I was sitting next to, they like their coach, so they think that they'll, no matter
Yeah,
what,
he is good.
is that they'll be back, to some degree. But it depends on who you're going to have coming in and who's leaving now. But some kids are going to have a conscience. They're not going to be, leaving, as soon as before their sweat dries after that game. So.
Sure.
We'll see what happens. It's so year to year now. It's ridiculous now. You have player of the year. It's like,
That's why it sucks. That's what's they're killing them.
maybe
They're killing them.
maybe we'll have a show during the week before the Final Four games to kind of talk about this. We have guys that
Well, the
had
Kevin
great
Willard
years
thing too.
that are hitting the hay. That
The Kevin Willard situation where you're going into a Sweet 16 game and you're leaving. I mean, what the hell are we doing here?
right. Yeah, it's tough. The coaches now too. It's really just everybody's their own vehicle now. There's no team camaraderie. There's no buying into a program anymore. It's just how we talked about it, the Wild West. That's really how it is. So if you're able to have any sort of a culture, that's why we talked about earlier with Kelvin Sampson having 4 starters return and the NIL portal era. That's absolutely been bonkers right there to have that type of return. 4 starters coming back, unbelievable. Obviously, those are guys that have really bought into you that they're going to invite you over for dinner one day type of vibe.
Sure.
But all right, folks, we'll wrap it up there. All you basketball fans out there, live long and prosper, and may the force be with you.
Peace.